All right. What's up? I am Brown Girl interrupting, and we're starting off a little bit of energy with some music. If you can hear the background, it's my jam. She's royal because I'm royal. No, I am Brown Girl interrupting. And if you don't know anything about me, what you should know about me is that I am brown. My skin, my life, my culture, my experiences. I was born in America, but my family is from Pakistan and Bangladesh, and I was raised as a Muslim. And so my story is that I'm brown. I have the story of my brown experience and what it is to be a daughter of immigrants and navigate the world and life and adulthood, even still. And I am also a woman, hence the girl, right? I'm a woman, which means I navigate my life from the vantage point of being a woman, as a mother, as a daughter, as a sister, as a female friend, and yes, in the dynamics of relationship as a woman. Now that's complex because I have feminine and masculine behaviors and personalities and energies, but I am a woman. And I'm an interrupter, which just means literally that I question everything. I interrupt. I never accept things for what they are as face value. And I always want to know more and figure out more things. So, welcome to my journey of being a brown girl, interrupting, and what that means and what that's been meaning. And so today I am coming to you just really excited to be here. And maybe there's going to be someone here joining me live in the conversation. And if there is, that'd be awesome. And if not, well, that's cool too. We're just going to hang out together. And you're going to be part of this experiment of learning about the brown girl interrupting and my story and just having an evening with me, which is a lot of different things. So, as you can see in my little chat here, come and join me on my daily shenanigans at Instagram and YouTube, Instagram and TikTok, but also be sure to go to my links and subscribe. I am at browngirlinterrupting.com, which is www.browngirlinterrupting.com, which is my blog. I'm a blogger. I write. So this whole story of being a brown girl started with me writing. And now from the writing, I have a podcast and a show, which is pretty cool. And it is sharing the stories of others experiencing and talking about their lives of turning pain into power, kind of a little bit like I did. So I'm here with you live, and I got a couple of ways we're going to engage and talk today. One of which is that I have a story for you. So I'm all about story time. And as you can see, I'm like totally adjusting because I cannot figure out the lighting and how I want this to look right now. I'm all over the place. So I apologize. I'm going to ignore my bed with all my stuff on it. But so here's my story for you. So yesterday, I read an excerpt, if you were here on my live with me, I read an excerpt from this book called Untamed by Glennon Doyle. And the excerpt I was reading was actually about this idea of how we rebirth things, but to rebirth new things, you have to get rid of old things and you have to let them dissipate and, make room and clear for the new things, right? And it just happened to be that during the day yesterday, I was talking to a friend who is cleaning things. So this analogy of cleaning and organizing and purging things is also connected to that. But then today, and this was really cool. Today, what happened is where I think, so I was born Muslim, but I think what I'm struggling, or not struggling, but what I'm trying to build my awareness of and experience is understanding where spirituality lies for me and how it makes sense and how it makes sense of my world around me. And so I want to say it was September. In September of last year, I was in my house, and I have 4 kids, but it was my daughter, my 5-year-old daughter, and I were in the house, and there were moths. Like, randomly, there were these white moths flying around. Like, I didn't see them. I didn't see them come in. I don't know where they came from, but they were in the house, right? Um, and it was 2. It wasn't just 1, it was 2. And my instinct is that when I see things that are living now, like, I always, like, save it for the most part. I mean, I think I killed, like, a teeny tiny little bug yesterday, but please don't tell the universe. I'm sure the universe already knows. But, like, I think I got a pass on that because I've saved so many other larger things. But that guy didn't survive, or girl, whatever. But these moths that were flying around my house did. And it just happened to be that September was just about the time when my whole world literally, like, flipped upside down in every way possible. With relationships, with parenting, um, with my ex relationships. It just everything just, like, flipped over. And after I saw these moths, I had looked up what it means, and um, what they mean, moths, when you see them in your house, is this. They're a good sign, but they can mean different things, right? Spiritually, moths do not bring bad luck. This is Google, FYI, if you want to know where I'm getting these facts. It's Google, and if I were to tell you exactly, it's from crystalclearintuition.com if you're looking for where my research comes from. What you're going to learn today is that a lot of the things that I do and say are not from a PhD or some extensive research. It's simply just that I live life, I learn, and I share what I learn. It could be right, it could be totally wrong, but it's real, and that's all I can guarantee you. So, spiritually, moths do not bring bad luck. Their appearance is often to give warnings about distractions in your life or to give you encouragement to keep taking steps forward on your spiritual path. They can represent the darker side of change, such as loss and endings, but there are always new opportunities to fill that void. So I read this at the time when I saw these moths, at the time where it was the precipice to literally everything I knew imploding, exploding, and being exposed of reality of what it is to me. And from September to now, it's all just continued to do all kinds of things. And so, but I think I'm finally, like, I'm at this place in my life where I'm like, I think things are changing. I think the good is coming. I think the abundance is coming. I think the love, the money, the everything is coming, and I feel it. And I feel the energy. Even though I can't see it anywhere near me, I feel it. So, coming full circle. Welcome to the friend who is with me, whoever is watching. Let me know who you are. Say hello in the chat. What's up? It's Ja. What's up, Ja? I'm telling the story of me and the moths. So yesterday I read about this idea of how we have to destroy things for space to come and for rebirth. So today, after September of seeing all those moths, haven't seen any moths in my house since. Nothing, no moths. I'm sitting at my table today, just literally between, like, having my last meeting and showing up here for this live. And out of nowhere flies a moth. Same exact kind of moth. It was like a whitish, brownish moth, and it just flies out of nowhere. And the truth is, like, what's up? Salute. It is not, it was not my, like, I don't know where it came from. I have no idea where it came from. It's not like the door was open and it flew in. Like, I have no idea. But when I go back to what I read, I'm going to read it again. This is what it means when you see moths. Spiritually, moths do not bring bad luck. Their appearance is often to give warnings about distractions in your life or to give you encouragement to keep taking steps forward on your spiritual path. They can represent the darker side of change, I think that was September, such as loss and endings, but there are always new opportunities to fill that void. So literally this definition that I read tonight, that I read because I saw a moth flying around after months and months of not seeing any moths and realizing that moths are some symbol of spirituality. And yesterday, reading an excerpt from this book all about the idea of change and having to destroy things in order to make space for new things. And that's what I read. And so that's where I am. I'm in this place of change, of trying to create new things from the space that I've been creating of destroying the old things. And destroy is so many different ways, but like in this case, I destroyed by changing my mindsets, by not believing the things that I had been believing about myself, about others, about what reality and perception are, all of it. And so, yeah, like I'm in that change space. And I love it. I'm gonna do some fancy stuff here. Salute, cha! I love it. I got some folks in the chat. It's really just one person, but we're gonna salute that one person because I'm excited he's in the chat and he's watching. So what's up? This is my amazing producer, Ja Logic, and he produces my amazing show, which is on this platform, StreamYard, and shows it comes every Sunday at 9 p.m. on the Ranters Network, on Brown Girl Interrupting, which is this channel, and on Better Minds Interrupting. And this week, I have an amazing author who's going to talk about dating advice. His name is DM Woods, and he wrote the book Dating 360, The Ultimate Guide to Getting What You Want. And so, yeah, come and join us and make sure that you are there at 9 o'clock on Sunday for this great interview that's going to happen. What's up? Oh, yay. I got more folks in. I'm excited. What's up? What's up? So here's my experiment. So y'all are here and my show. Oh, I got to put this one up. Thank you. And my show is fire. That's from the amazing Ja Logic and the Ranters fam. I love it. Steph Got Jokes is here. It's going to be so good. You're going to love him. He's really good. Okay, so y'all are here. You're going to be my experiment because I am trying out StreamYard and trying to figure out how it works. I am going to try something, which is that I have this theory. So for y'all who don't know, I'm a facilitator of conversations on race and equity. So I work a lot on this idea of race and equity and how to talk about it and how to reflect on it. And one day I just had this weird brainstorm and I came up with this theoretical framework. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I have no PhD in this. I don't have some kind of research. I literally came up with this theoretical framework based on all the work I've done for the last 6 years and what I know about teaching and learning and what I know about people. And what I realized after I made this awesome this great theoretical framework that just made sense to me, I looked at it and I was like, yeah, this works for race and like talking about race and about understanding racism and understanding anti-racism, but it actually really works for life. And if I were to think about it, it's the things that we're doing all the time. So here's my theoretical framework for how we process lessons learned in life. Stay with me, y'all. I'm a total geek and nerd. This is my nerd geek coming out at like the highest of levels. So if you're still with me, thank you. Bear with me. Watch and experience, but learn. Okay, so I think this is going to work. I'm trying to figure out how to make this work entirely. Okay, I think this is it, right? So now my screen is all, there you go. See, okay, it worked. I'm also practicing my production strategies here. So those of you joining me on YouTube here, I'm practicing my production skills here too as well, okay? So here is my theoretical framework. Now, when I originally created this framework, again, with no real research, just me, Maria, and my overthinking self, okay? And it made sense, and I've used it to help frame thinking for people. Here are the things we have to do. It's cyclical. Learning and lessons in life is cyclical. And what it starts with is our awareness. And awareness means just being aware. Like we have to be aware of ourselves. We have to be aware of others. We have to have a knowledge of our past and the impact that has on us. We have to understand our role in relationships and the importance of psychological safety for ourselves and others. And we have to know our biases and our belief patterns. So we have to have self-awareness. That's the key to everything, is you have to know yourself. But then can't stop there. You got to move to knowledge, because knowing yourself isn't enough if you don't know what you need to understand to expand that understanding of yourself, right? Because sometimes we get stuck in places where we think we know ourselves and we think we're actually examining things, but we're really just kind of repeating the same status quo and like processes, right? So knowledge is where we build our knowledge, and that is emotional intelligence. That's a real knowledge skill, and a lot of people need it. And okay, I know there are a lot of guys in this chat right now, but I'm gonna say emotional intelligence is one of the areas that I would say many men could use some work in. Just saying. Some women too. It's not a gender thing. Everybody could use some work in. But I will say women tend to have a little bit more skill and ease in getting into it than men do. And that's society. So if you read my latest post on heavy lift, I explain that a little bit more. Then we got to know history and knowledge of, you got to know the isms. You got to know xenophobia, because it's all part of relationships, because everybody comes with different experiences. So if you're dating me and I'm a brown girl, you got to understand racism, because you got to understand my experiences and what I've gone through. You have to understand the history of people that look like me. You have to have that knowledge. Like, you can't date somebody or be in a relationship with someone or have a friendship with someone not understanding who they are in a level of like layers of what that is, right? And then you have to understand and have knowledge on what are the barriers to healthy relationships. So in everything, whether it's talking about race and equity, or it's relationships, or it's just learning lessons in life and dynamics, you have to know what the barriers are to be able to address those barriers. You can't just go to solutions without knowing what you're solving. It's bottom line, right? And those barriers can be mental health, they can be somebody's trauma, they can be your trauma, they can be family history, they can just be past experiences with other people, whether it's friendships or romantic relationships, right? So we have our awareness, we build our knowledge, and then we move to action. So you take this awareness, you take this knowledge, and you move it to action. So you identify the areas where those barriers come up, right? Like, so if you're in a relationship and you have arguments with someone, you got to identify, well, what is it that we're really arguing about, and why is it triggering us the way it is, right? And then the bottom line is with action is that you're applying whatever tools that you're learning, right? But you're applying them with logic, not emotion. And you're reflecting. You're constantly reflecting and refining, because nothing we do the first time is always going to be right. But how do you look at it and be like, oh, okay, I didn't do that right, but I'm going to take some input from someone that's building knowledge, right? I'm going to go back to my awareness of myself. This is why it's cyclical, right? And I'm going to understand who I am and why I didn't do that in the first place, and why I tend to do this instead. And then I'm going to apply that action change. And communication. We got to communicate often, communicate clearly, and communicate honestly. Things that seem easy but are really hard for many people. And the final one, and I totally ripped this off of a training I went to and someone shared it with me, and it is definitely something that I use in my school system when I'm talking about this. But I think it's also, again, connected to life. Be purposeful, be intentional, and be explicit. Pie. Everything we do, purposeful, intentional, explicit. Parenting, be purposeful, be intentional, be explicit. Relationships, be purposeful, be intentional, be explicit. Your jobs, purposeful, intentional, explicit, all of it. It completely applies. So this is the nerd in me. All right, I'm going to pull back the screen. I'm going to take down this little share screen situation. I gotta know, does it make sense? Okay. Ja, you're still with me. I love it. Ja says it makes sense. Thank you. What about this makes sense to you? Because I'm curious to know. I've been wanting to test this theory out for so long. I want to know like what people think of it, because it just made so much sense to me, and it helps me when it comes to my life, because I'm always in this place of like, okay, so how do I learn a lesson from whatever I'm experiencing? What do I know about myself? What do I know about the other person? What did I learn And how am I going to put it to action? Good evening, Mr. Jones. Welcome. It is nice to have you in the chat. We are talking about my theory on learning lessons, which is the idea that we have to have awareness of ourselves and others. We have to build our knowledge and know things like emotional intelligence, like people's history and experiences, and just our own history and experiences. And of course, just knowing people's like identities. And like I'm gonna be fancy and try to do some of my little production stuff. I hope I'm making you proud here, Ja. And good evening, kings and queens in the chat. Salute. Thank you, thank you. It is so cool to have you here. Yes, and yes, Jaw Logic is our guy. I love it. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you, Ja. So, and then finally we move it to action. But here's the thing is that I think like we're always doing all of it. We're always building and understanding ourselves. We're always thinking about like we're always building our knowledge. Like you read about stuff. People read about relationships. They read about um you read about I don't know what else do you read about you read about trauma or like how to deal with somebody with trauma. We read about love languages. Like we read about all these different things, so we're building our knowledge and then we put it into action because once you learn it you're like, oh well, what do I do with it in my life, right? So you have to have it all. So if you feel like I should take this show on the road and patent my theory, give me a thumbs up. Or I'll just entertain myself for fun. But my idea, truthfully, is if I were to write a book, that would be the framing of my book. Because if you go to my blog and you look at my blog, literally that's what I'm constantly doing. I'm looking at the awareness of myself, I'm thinking about the knowledge I've learned, and I'm applying it to the actions in my life. That's what I do. That's what makes me Brown Girl Interrupting. That's what makes me the person I am. And so yes, that's my little plug for me, my blog. I'm not going to read any pieces of my blog today, but if you haven't done it yet, and I'm going to put it in here again, if you haven't done it yet, go and subscribe to my blog, follow, and make sure that you are checking out that you subscribed and everything. There's the link and the info and that's that. But I have something else for y'all. That was my one thing I wanted to share. I wanted to test out my skills in production with using a screen share because I had not done it yet. I think I was successful in it. But the other thing, and I wanted to share with you my moth story. For those of you who didn't get to hear the moth story, go back and watch it tomorrow or after this broadcast, definitely. So, Mr. Jones, check out the moth story and the rest of this because it was interesting. I had a whole spiritual awakening in understanding this idea of rebirth. So, the other thing I want to share with y'all is this book. Okay, it's called Blackwash. I want to read the title, the explanation to you. It is a psychological norm for individuals to not empathize with issues that do not affect them. History is often written by those who win in battle or conquer the minds of a population. America and much of this world would have had a one-sided telling of history that is perpetuated into society. The victims of this perspective have been the descendants of Africa and other indigenous people around the world. We do not know how the continent would have been if not interfered with. However, what if a new paradigm was created where Africa and its nations maintain a global superiority on this earth? Blackwash, the untold stories of reverse racism, produces this narrative using factual events of the past and present. It is a fictional twist on nonfiction that the world needs to heal. This novel aims to produce a mental shift within its readers while alleviating systemic racism and oppression without experiencing the same trauma lived by the subjugated. My brothers and sisters, do not be blind to the distractions in life for which we are all connected. Rodney Cloud Hill. That's deep. That's deep, and it's going to be fire. And guess what? Guess what, y'all? Rodney Cloud Hill is going to be featured on Pain to Power Leading with Love on May 8th at 9 o'clock on Brown Girl Interrupting. I always deliver, friends. You're not going to want to miss it. He took the entire idea of systemic racism and turned it around as though it was not African Americans and indigenous people who were persecuted, but whites. Imagine what that world might look like. And he took historical events to do it. It's pretty damn deep. Pretty damn deep. He's a really interesting guy. His story is fascinating. I had a great meeting with him today, and I'm so excited to have him on Pain to Power Leading with Love on May 8th. He's part of this new Ranchers Network. He's coming, and he's dope, and he's got great ideas. So, I mean, what do y'all think? Like, that was pretty powerful, right? Like, those words, I should put it up on the screen because I'm curious to know what stood out to you as I was reading it. Because yeah, like it's a real shift, a real shift. Um, so yeah, so that's one of my guests coming up May 8th, and I've got DM Woods, who is he's hilarious. It's a good convo. It's gonna be a good convo for sure, Ja. So DM Woods is hilarious. Let me see. I'm gonna try to see if I can get this up here. Mr. Jones dodged the question though. And Josh says, okay, good convo. Good convo, yes. But Mr. Jones dodged the question. What question did Mr. Jones dodge? I'm curious to know. Because you know I'm an interrupter. I'm gonna have to make sure that question gets answered now. so that's one show. DM Woods is coming up, who is hilarious. So if you haven't followed him yet, go follow him on Instagram. He's got these hilarious reels where he really like pokes fun at dating, which I think is great because that's such a good thing, is to have a humor, like have a sense of humor when it comes to sharing, like, well, one, talking about dating, because honestly, dating sucks. Like, sucks. Some of y'all are out of the dating game, so you don't understand how much it sucks, but it sucks. Like, seriously, seriously. I don't know if you can tell. I'm a little unhappy with the whole results of this situation. I started about 3 years ago, after being married for 17 years. I got married at 22, so I was a kid, but I mean, let's be honest, I was a kid because in all respects, when your frontal lobe is not formed, you are a child. I have a 21-year-old right now, and if he were to suddenly get married or have a child like I did at that age, I can't even imagine what that would look like. Like, it makes me scared. So I was a kid, and then I came out of being a kid and dating like a kid to dating adults. I say that with very clear air quotes because that's what they feel like. Because nobody knows what they want, and nobody really communicates what they want, and nobody's forthcoming in any of this process, and it just kind of sucks. It sucks. So, if you're feeling the way I am about dating, or maybe you're just curious or you want a good laugh, go and check out Pain to Power Leading with Love with Mr. DM Woods on Sunday, April 10th at 9 p.m. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty dope. And then the week after that, I've got Lovely T, my co-host of Better Minds Interrupting. And so if you don't know, now you know, come and join us on Thursdays. You can find us on this channel, or you can find us on the Ranchers Network, or you can find us on Better Minds Interrupting, which I should put that in the chat, but I don't have quick fingers like that. So if anybody else can put that in the chat, put it in the chat. Although everybody who's in the chat already watches the show, so I don't know if we really need you in the chat. But maybe somebody will click on it later. So yeah, check out Better Minds Interrupting, because I talk about spiritual healing, and I just started this podcast all about the idea of spirituality with my moth story, and this great book, Untamed, which is really good. I got some more quotes from it, but I don't think I'm going to talk about them today. And then it just made me think about some of my posts. Definitely go check out my posts. Go read my blog. Anybody interested in joining me in this conversation? Because I don't know if we really just want to hear Maria talk for like the next, I don't know how long. It's been like 30 minutes. You might be sick of me. That's okay. It's a lot of talking. Thanks for joining me, though. It was nice to have y'all here, even though it looks like Mr. Jones might have evaded my question, which I don't remember anymore, Mr. Jones, so you're good, I think. um, and Ja, my awesome producer, was here, which was really cool. And yeah, I successfully shared my screen, engaged with the chat, showed the chat, and even added comments to the chat. Like, I think that was like a very successful YouTube StreamYard for the first time ever. I'm just gonna say, I'd like to give myself a pat on the back if no one else is going to give me the accolades for it. And come join me. Come join me and follow me. Particularly, like, follow my Instagram story. Follow me on TikTok. I like to laugh more than I like to be serious, but I know how to do it all. I'm a multi-skilled lady. And I love community, so I love to connect with people. Which is why it's very weird to just be sitting here talking to myself. So Mr. Jones, what you got here? Okay, I'm gonna read this chat. It says, dating sucks if you looking and accepting certain things, but you're just looking to be loved and to love them and to love them as much they're supposed to love you. That's true. I don't know. So if we're accepting and looking for certain things, it does suck, I guess. So does that mean, and I wonder, like, I'm curious to know, does that mean that it's because you have too many expectations it sucks? And I will say that I agree with that. I agree that expectations um is not what makes it suck, but I think it makes it harder. So you have to go in like feeling like um just feeling like you've got no expectations, right? Whatever happens, happens. If it's great, it's great. If it's not, well, then it's just not meant to be. And I sort of went in with that idea. I sort of did. Um, I really went into this whole dating thing thinking I was going to get like fun nights out of it and meet new people and just have fun. And it became just a very emotional experience that was hard. Therefore, the moth story, if you go back to that. But yeah, I know you just tuned in, Mr. Jones, and I appreciate you tuning in. Don't worry, we didn't really talk about dating before. It was really just more spirituality. So this is the start of the dating conversation. Good and bad, I don't know. But yeah, any questions, any thoughts? I don't know if I should share my little thing again. Anyone curious about this? Little, you know what? I'm gonna just put it up just because I can, and because there is I'm struggling with what to talk about here. So okay, so if we're looking at this little thing, this is what I was talking about before, Mr. Jones. So catch you up on where I am. This is my theoretical framework of life. and and what I mean by that is that this is what we're always going through. So take a look at it. I'm curious to know your thoughts on if it makes sense and where you see it being applied. Like, if we were really having a conversation here, where do you see this actually working in your life? Or like, do you think you've ever used it and not thought about using it even, but like it's come into play for you? And Mr. Jones says, yes, that's one part of it. So yes, I would agree. It is one part of it. There's a lot of parts of dating. It's complicated. It certainly goes with this situation here, this idea of my theoretical framework. Maybe I won't date. I'll just come up with weird theories and be like that weird theory lady. I don't do cats. I won't have cats, but just die alone with all my theories and nerdiness. It's okay. I'm just kidding. I'm not putting that in the world. I'm not dying alone. I'm eventually going to find something good in my life. But in the meantime, I'm going to entertain folks if they're interested in being entertained. So here's my BGI info. I love it. Jazzes, don't mind me. I'm doing 8 things at once. Always doing 8 things at once. Just wanted to put Mr. Jones on the spot. LOL, that's my boy. Yes, and I have to say, Mr. Jones, you've come into all my shows and you're always like a solid supporter and always solidly supporting me. And I've seen how you've like reshared some of my stuff on your Instagram story, and I truly appreciate that. I value people who value me and who are there and support. So thank you. I appreciate it. Definitely do. And Jazz says, I'm a mess, LOL. You are, but you know what though? Like, you a multitasking mess. Joe, when is your birthday? I just keep meaning to ask you this because I am curious. What's your sign? And Mr. Jones, since we're going there, what's your sign? Since you're my only two friends in this chat conversation. Just gonna talk about signs. I'm Capricorn, for those of y'all who don't know. I think I sometimes advertise that too. I'm a Capricorn, which for many people apparently means me think that like I'm really like emotionless. And I will say, I think that I do avoid emotions at times. Like sometimes I'll totally like, and if you see me becoming emotional, like if you've ever seen me become emotional on a post or on something, it's like that's the extreme level of my emotion because I don't generally put emotions out there for others to see. I think it happened one time. I might have written about this too in my blog. It happened one time when I'm going to take this screen down. Nobody needs to know that information still. But I was at work. That's an interesting story. So I was at work, and my job was at the moment going through this restructuring. So we got a new superintendent, and the superintendent was, yeah, you got 15 people doing this equity work, but we don't really need 15 people. We just need 5 for our 24,000 employees, right? And 100 some thousand students, right? Just five people in charge of race and equity, not 15, right? So they restructured and they did a whole lot of other stuff, and because of restructuring, I was about to potentially have to interview for another job. And so me and like lots of other colleagues, right, like 15 people, all of us had to re-interview for our jobs. I was also at the time pregnant with my 4th child. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you. You're welcome. I try to do as much as I can to help. You do, and it does not go unappreciated or seen. So I was pregnant. I want to say, no, I wasn't pregnant. I had just had a baby. At 4 months. Like 4 months before that, right? I had just had a baby. I'd just come back from maternity leave though, which was my 4th child. And I was in a miserable, horrible marriage where my ex was not working. So I was the only person who was supporting our family at the time, while my in-laws lived with me too. And I was about to have to like interview for a new job, and I was so stressed. I was so incredibly stressed. And here I sat, like we're sitting at this board table, and it was like all these colleagues, and everybody's like, what do I do with my resume, and how do I figure this out, and like everybody's talking about the job, and I literally sat there and like no one sees my emotions ever. And I start bawling. I'm like, oh my God, y'all are just worried about your jobs. I'm literally like worried about my entire life. Like, I'm married to this person who I don't want to be married to. I'm in a miserable marriage. If I lose my job, like, he has no job. I have the only job. Like, I can't do this. Like, I am so scared. And I started bawling in front of all of these people, and people that, like, oh, I just saw your comment. All these people that I should not be bawling in front of. And I was like a mess. I think people all remember it because it was so shocking to see me probably go from like this tough girl, like always kind of have my shit together, very calm and collected, to like crying and being a mess in front of all of these people. It's like a boardroom full of people. All because I was like so scared about my job and my life and my marriage and my livelihood and like everything just imploding all at the same time. The good thing is And this is a true story. So if anybody sees this, meaning if anybody is trolling me for information on where I am and what I'm doing today, I don't really care. So the truth is, I ended up being blessed by the universe because the night before I was supposed to interview for this job, the job that I had no idea I was going to get because I was in like a postpartum mess when it came to my mind and my like emotions, and like I was so worried I wasn't going to get this interview. The night before, my boss calls me and he says the board of directors was asked to save some of these jobs, and they saved three people were going to be able to not have to interview again, just kept their positions, nothing would change for them. And all of that was literally based on seniority. So the three people that stayed was one woman who had been there for almost 27 years, one woman who had been there for 22 years, and me, who had been there for 17 years. That's it, like by a hair. And all the other people that I work with were literally like maybe like 16 years, or like they had been teaching for like, or been in education for like 22 years, but 3 of those years were in another state. So, like, by the grace of frickin' God in the universe, I kept my job. So, y'all know what I did the next day? I woke up the next morning, and this is the baller boss in me, okay? I went downstairs and I told my husband, I said, so I kept my job and I'm leaving you. That was it. Mic dropped. Because that was my moment. I had my job. I wasn't worried about job anymore. Now I could just figure out the rest of my life. And I knew I didn't want to be married to this person anymore. So I was ready to go. There's your brown girl interrupting story. If you like my story, if you like the way that I tell it, if you like the humor, you got to follow me on all of my platforms. And I love it. I see Mr. Jones, you're a Capricorn as well. See, Capricorns get a bad rep, but we are pretty damn cool people. We're solid friends. Right, Mr. Jones? Oh, wait, hold on. I want to see your comment here. So, Mr. Jones says, well, they say Capricorns are too emotional people, but that's not true. You have some Capricorn that are emotional and caring about people and their emotions, and some Capricorns just don't care. That's true. So I've actually heard always the opposite, that Capricorns are not emotional. They're almost like stoic. And I will say that, yeah, like sometimes I'm not emotional because I'm a Capricorn maybe, or because I have been done wrong by so many people that I have to hide my emotions so I don't get broken down over and over again. But oh, hold on, I gotta add this. So you say they don't care about anybody but themselves. That is true. However, what I will say is I think that Capricorns are skilled at self-preservation. We're the goats, right? Like we're literally the goats. I would like to say greatest of all times, goats, but also we're literally the animal, the goat. And what does the goat do? The goat climbs up a mountain. The goat like is able to withstand all types of weather. Like we are so tough and strong. We make it through everything. So I would agree that yeah, like you can have some emotion, but you can't stay in that emotion because you can't get shit done if you're always emotional. No offense to my cancers who I know are very emotional. I'm just saying. No shade thrown at my cancers. And if you're a cancer watching this, I do apologize. Two of my very closest friends are cancers. So I love them. In fact, I think I gravitate towards cancers. I think they're a great like blend with me and my energy. But yeah, so that's the truth. That's it. That's the truth. That's me in a nutshell. This is Brown Girl Interrupting. If you liked my story, if you like joining me, I'm here. Maybe I'll be back and do a live again. If you think I should do a live again, give me a thumbs up. And definitely, if you haven't done it yet, go subscribe below. Make sure you're subscribing to my channel. Make sure you are liking this post. Make sure you are clicking that little bell and getting the notification so you can join me in my conversations on Pain to Power this Sunday, 4/10, April 10th at 9 o'clock with DM Woods, the author and just hilarious guy, insightful, smart, funny, and he gives you some really, really good advice on what dating looks like when it's healthy, when you're really looking for the right one. Like Mr. Jones had mentioned earlier, right? If you're doing it for the wrong reasons, maybe it's not dating 360 for you. But if you truly actually want to find a partner, you want to find peace and love in your life, then check out DM Woods and me, Brown Goat Interrupting, on Sunday at 9 o'clock on this channel. Haha. Mr. Jones says it's the mood swings we get most of the time. Yeah, okay, fine. I will take that. I will own the mood swings. We are half goat and half fish. Are we half goat, half fish? I didn't even know that. I thought we were only goats. That's new for me. That's funny. All right. I don't know. I didn't know that, but you just taught me something new. See, you just built my knowledge, Mr. Jones. And so we are half goat, half fish as Capricorns. We are not stoic. We have emotions, but it requires a lot of trust and a lot of safety to get the emotions out of a Capricorn. So I'm a Capricorn. It requires trust and safety. I got to know that I've got a soft landing. I got to know that my emotions are going to be coming and thrown back at me because you can't handle them or because they trigger your insecurities, right? Like I can't let those emotions be seen by just anybody. That's really important for my self-preservation because I'm a goat and a fish apparently. So, but you know what though? I appreciate you saying that, Mr. Jones, that I'm a fish because I always feel like I am somehow connected to water because we're earth elements by being Capricorns, but I always feel like I have water elements about me because I'm very fluid. Like I feel like I flow. And if I were to pick an element that I could be in the world, I think it would be water. On the flip side, my daughter, who's a Virgo, who also is an earth element, tells me she'd be fire. So that's that's the 5-year-old I deal with, the one who wants to be the fire queen. So thank you for joining me, Mr. Jones. Da Logic, Steph Got Jokes came in here. It was great to have you all here. It was nice to hang out. And for those of you watching, make sure you follow me, you subscribe. Check me out on Instagram. I share my story. And I have a pretty funny story. You know, just my everyday life has hilarious anecdotes that I share very freely. So come and follow it all. Check it all out. And yeah, you will see me again now that I have figured out all these bells and whistles of StreamYard. Peace out.